If you're new to microblogging tools, I want to spend just a moment talking with you about tags and mentions, because if you understand how they work, it'll make a lot more sense when you start working with microblogs in SharePoint. Hashtags or tags begin with a pound sign, and there's no space after the pound and before the words begin. So, for example, pound SharePoint, pound election 2012, and note, no space between election and 2012. As soon as there's a space, that's the end of that tag or hashtag. First World Pains, Office 365, all of these are hashtags. Now notice that if we had a hashtag that was simply Office, and there is one because somebody's used it, that Office 365 is more specific. Election 2012 is more specific than simply election. Specificity is the hallmark of a really good hashtag, as is brevity. Tags are used for sorting and for filtering. So, for example, if you were participating in a conversation on Twitter with a number of other people, there are tools that would allow you to say, simply show me every single item that has pound SharePoint in it. And then you would know that everybody was in that same conversation. As people are posting several different posts, you can see, oh, here's all of the SharePoint posts. It keeps them all together. And it allows you to take all of the information that you have and to be able to sort it out based on how people have tagged it. There is no official repository for hashtags, despite the fact that if you use Google or Bing or Yahoo and search for hashtag dictionary, you'll find lots of sites that will tell you it's them. But there really isn't any official repository for hashtags. Hashtags or tags are made up by users. So let's imagine that I want to start a conversation and I'd like to name that chocolate cake. And that's my conversation. We're going to talk about all the different ways one could make a really superb chocolate cake. Well, if somebody else simply has cake or CHOC cake or shortens it up or chocolate cupcakes and they use different hashtags, it'll be hard for us to have a conversation. So while there is no official repository, there's a need for at least a silent agreement among the participants that this is a hashtag that's worthy. So you see a hashtag, election 2012, and you start using that hashtag. Someone else uses elections 2012, and all of a sudden, there are two separate conversations. Because of this, you'll find that in some organizations, they will actually create a list of hashtags that they're using. So if you're going to be talking about a particular project, for example, the staffing project, it's going to be called pound staffing PROJ, and that's what you use. Again, there's no way on a global level to be able to say that's the hashtag we're using. And more importantly, there's no way to retire a hashtag. So any hashtag that's ever used will be used forever because everyone can start them and no one can say that they can no longer be used. Mentions are very different, although they seem much the same. Mentions begin with the @ sign, and a mention is actually someone's name. So we saw earlier Mark Lassie's name, my name, Rose Lee. The fourth one there is actually my Twitter name. Mentions are used for connecting. So if I want to make a comment about something that Mark said, I want to include Mark. It's a call out. Hey, Mark Lassie said this. Or it's saying, I'd like Mark Lassie to see this, so I will include him, because anytime someone's mentioned, that post or that microblog post will show up in their feed, whether they're using Twitter or Instagram or Google Plus or SharePoint. Each platform maintains its own repository for mentions. So when you want to follow someone on Twitter, you'll need to know what their name is. And if you put in a mention that's not accurate, it goes nowhere and it connects to nothing. If you're an Instagram user, you'll also have a particular name there that is used to mention you. And SharePoint does not have a global repository of users. It has a repository with each SharePoint installation. So I actually have more than one SharePoint name because the naming conventions used by some of the sites that I'm on are different. So a hashtag everyone can make up, and as they get to be popular and more people use them, there's a community agreement around them. Mentions are exactly what they are. I can't make up a new name for Mark Lassie and have it work. I have to use the name that Mark was given officially in the repository. So hashtags and mentions, two different tools you'll need to be familiar with to be effective when you do microblogging on Twitter, Google+, Instagram, or here in SharePoint.